Welcome to my dream LEGO studio. Today, I thought it'd be fun to take you on a tour and show you where I build custom LEGO creations. If you're new to the channel, hi, I'm Mitch, and I build custom creatures and characters like this Balrog out of LEGO. I think the most important consideration for my whole LEGO space is how to store all my parts. Some people will swear by sorting by part, while others sort by color. I tend to fall more into the later camp, but the bulk of my collection is indeed sorted by color. For me, I just find that to be the easiest way for my brain to work. I'll often not know exactly which part I want to use, but I'll know the color that it needs to be. So digging through a bin of parts will allow me to be a little more spontaneous and helps me to find the right parts for the job. It also makes for a pretty aesthetic display when you have a nice rainbow of parts, which I think is important too. I use these Sterilite drawers, which I like because of how much surface area they have, so it's pretty easy to dig through and find the right part. Some of the more niche colors I'll throw into one bin. For colors that have outgrown that, I'll partially sort them by part, which I've done here with blue. I've one bin for all the system parts, another for some Technic and Bionicle connectors, and then I have another two for Bionicle parts. This might be the nerdiest part of my whole setup, but I've actually separated these by plastic hardness. I've noticed that some of the softer parts can end up getting this nasty wear on the edges if they live in a bin for long enough. You can see that pretty clearly with these gold Visorak shells. So to try and protect against that as much as possible, recently I've been separating them out from the harder ABS parts. Some of these Bionicle parts are over 20 years old now, and I want them to last another 20 years of building. One other little secret hidden in this wall of parts is that I actually have my light switch behind the bins, and I've 3D printed a little clip which attaches into them so I can turn the lights on and off. Along the top of my storage bins, I have a bunch of my older builds and some LEGO sets on display. Next, let's swing around to my desk, which is probably the part of my studio you guys are most familiar with. This is where I film and edit all my videos. But this desk actually really needs an upgrade. You can see here on the back that I had to cut a hole into it with a jigsaw just so I could mount my monitor. I've had my eyes on a standing desk for a while, so I was super excited when FlexiSpot agreed to sponsor this video and upgrade my desk setup. So this new desk is the FlexiSpot E7 Pro standing desk, and it's awesome. I like that I can program in height presets, so I can switch over to standing mode really easily. The desk height has a range of 20 to 50.6 inches, so you can really dial in that perfect ergonomic height. It's got a static load capacity of 440 pounds, which is enough to hold me, as long as I don't eat too much more shawarma. I actually have a ton of random things clamped onto my desk, like my mic, and that monitor stand I mentioned earlier. So the stability of this desk has been great for holding onto all that. And that's all thanks to the dual motor, 3-stage C-leg structure, which is nice and quiet when raising and lowering the legs. This C-stand here is where I have my camera mounted. For filming bigger builds, I find I need to raise it up. However, the E7 Pro has actually given me a new solution for that kind of shot, where I can just change the height of my desk and get the shot I need without having to fiddle with my filming setup. FlexiSpot also hooked me up with a new chair, the C7 Max, which has been a huge upgrade from the literal folding chair I used to use. It's an ergonomic chair, so it's super adjustable and has great lumbar support. You can set the backrest up and down, as well as use the 5D armrest to get a perfect posture for you. The cushion is super comfy and has a latex layer, which makes for improved comfort over longer periods. One of the cool things about this chair is the versatility between office mode, where you can lock the lumbar support, and relaxation mode, where you can recline and also flip out the footrest for comfy sitting. Click the link in the description to go to FlexiSpot.com and use code Mitch30 to save $30 on desks and chairs. FlexiSpot offers a 15-year warranty and a 30-day risk-free return service. My typical videos are actually filmed once I've finished the design of whatever it is I'm building. So it's actually me rebuilding it that you see. But before I can get to all that, I need to actually design the model. And for that, I have this giant workbench set up. Over here, I have a bunch of my most frequently used parts, sorted into these Acromills storage drawers. This way, I can quickly find any little part I need for my design. I've got bins for Technic axles and pins, various bars, clips, rounded plates, really anything you see me using all the time in my builds. I even have a special bin here for my hot dogs, burnt or otherwise. Some of my other favorite bins include my bins of balls, this one for old Titan sockets, and my rainbow arm bin. In the case of some of these bins, I've 3D printed some little inserts that go in and allow for me to have two different parts in the same bin. I currently have 4 of these small part organizers, and they live in this cabinet that my dad and I built. It's got room for 2 more if I outgrow the bins I currently have. For now, I've just filled those with some shelves, which hold some books and builds on display. Underneath my workbench, the part storage continues with this other custom cabinet for even more small parts. I use these bead bins for parts which aren't plentiful enough or used enough to go into my other storage setup, or for families of parts which I want to see all at once, like these spikes. I even have a bin here dedicated to clickets. Up at the top, I have my longer flex tube supply, as well as some scrap paper which I'll use to make to-do lists. Now, I cleaned up because I knew you guys were coming over, but usually this desk is just a sea of Lego parts. And amongst all this, I find there's a couple of tools that really help me. The first is just the standard brick separator. I like to keep at least one old one and one new one on hand at any time, because combined, they're super useful for disconnecting plates, which I usually struggle with. The other tool I find pretty useful are these pliers, which are good for things like this. For whatever reason, it has seemed to fuse itself together and I can't pull apart by hand, but the pliers come to the rescue. Another category of parts I've been collecting for a while are cloth and plastic sails and capes. My friend Alex showed me this trick of storing them in a binder so that you can easily flip through and see which part you want. There's some pretty cool ones in here, so let's flip through for a sec. Also underneath my desk are a bunch of storage bins. Most of what's in here are unsorted parts, which used to be scattered all over my workbench. But even amongst all that, there's some fun stuff like my Galador bin. Galador was this super weird LEGO theme, which was one of their biggest failures. And some of those parts fit in pretty nicely with Bionicle building. Back on top of my workbench, there's a couple of builds on display. There's not a ton of space in my studio for actually displaying the models I make, so most of them end up in storage. One day, I'd love to have enough space for a proper display. One last thing that I find really important to have around my LEGO studio is a bunch of inspiration. And for me, that ranges from having old LEGO sets to plants and art books. And that's my LEGO studio. Thanks again to all my amazing patrons for supporting me and my builds. And special shout out to my newest supporters: James Richards, Apostle, Tough Kim, Enzo, Leopold Salzbrenner, Danny Z, Nezhk Zelich, Joaquin Cordova Norman, Tyler Teese, Spiotti, Tyler LeBlanc, Tybono13, Cool Potetsu, Bobby Dawson, Parch 901, Trevor Stout, Mr. Bubbles 774, Iono, and upgraded member TT. Thanks for making this channel possible. Check out this video if you want to see me build this Balrog. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. But until then, happy building.